Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. Quick shout out to my newest patrons, Doug S., Steve R., and Jim W. Thank you guys for choosing to support the channel. At the time of recording, with the NASDAQ down over 4.5% on the day, very clearly investors are reconsidering Jerome Powell's comments from yesterday, essentially digesting the fact that while they only raised 50 basis points and took 75 off the table, over the next year or so, rates will probably need to move significantly higher to combat inflation, and there's still plenty of uncertainty with the supply chain and the war and everything going on. So days like this are just to be expected. Once again, as a long-term investor, don't sweat it. I'm celebrating it, looking to buy more Tesla if I can. And for any new investors, these are excellent learning moments and reminders that the macro is the ultimate #1 driver. Apologies for missing yesterday's video. We have some electricians at our house this week, so there was just too much going on at the house for me to record. Just a word of caution with this tweet, please be very careful because this debt that Tom is referring to is not traditional debt. These legacy auto companies have financing arms that effectively act like central banks, providing liquidity to the auto market between the dealers and the manufacturers and the customers. Additionally, these financing arms of these legacy auto companies will also securitize loans called ABS or asset-backed securities, and they'll sell them to institutional investors, effectively offloading a big portion of the default risk. And look, traditional auto will still have many problems from these financing arms. For example, once the residual value of these ICE vehicles plummets when EVs really take off, it's going to be really hard, if not impossible, for these legacy companies to continually sell these ABS securities, effectively crippling a large profit center for these legacy auto financing arms. But the main point here is do not get carried away with this. When you see these numbers, this is not debt in the traditional sense when we're talking about legacy auto. A quick note here from the South China Morning Post, Tesla has picked a location for this new factory in Shanghai. However, it's not been disclosed. And here we have it. There is a massive shift taking place in the battery raw material space that is going to be crucial for not just Tesla, but the entire EV transition. So what's going on? We won't get into too much detail today, but I am working on a few projects behind the scenes, so stay tuned for that. So Benchmark Mineral Intelligence has shared that a newfound lack of trust in the LME, or the London Metals Exchange, is resulting in new pricing methods for nickel, and as you'll see, not just nickel. The LME is a commodities exchange that deals in metals futures and options, and it's the largest exchange for options and futures contracts for base metals like aluminum, copper, nickel, and others. The exchange also facilitates trading of precious metals like gold and silver. So why the lack of trust? Well, after the nickel short squeeze we saw in March, the LME canceled trades and implemented trading halts. Sounds like Robinhood, which has pushed market participants to consider new pricing mechanisms. $3.9 billion of trades were canceled by the exchange. These cancellations and halts sparked claims that the LME acted intentionally to protect large industry players who were impacted by the price rally, with some suggesting that the move came at the request of the LME owners, Hong Kong Exchanges and Clearing Limited. Basically, now many industry players worry the exchange is not truly independent or impartial, and following this incident, liquidity on the exchange has dropped significantly. Average daily transaction volume is down 49% from February volumes. So while much of this drama was over nickel, look at what's happening with lithium. Historically, Chinese participants have been more exposed to spot prices than participants in other regions who have locked in more volume under fixed price term contracts, like Tesla. But now, look at this. New contract volumes are increasingly being referenced directly to spot indices on a floating basis. This means consumers outside of China may over time see their margins increasingly squeezed as they gradually lose their buffer of contracts agreed to at lower historical prices. In layman's terms, lithium pricing is moving away from longer-term fixed contracts to essentially being adjustable to better reflect the volatility in the spot pricing market. So to tie a bow on this for today, while Tesla has fixed contracts now, over the next 3 to 5 years, as Tesla signs new contracts, they may be more exposed to the fluctuating spot prices of these raw materials. No need for concern, as Tesla is the only automaker poised to handle this to any degree, given its sourcing power and research upstream, and honestly, moves like this could be the final catalyst Elon and team need to bring even more of the mining and refining in-house. These changes, though, really could hurt new EV players, basically everybody else not named Tesla, with little sourcing power, uncertain EV demand, and no or minimal expertise or talent upstream to actually do anything in-house. So in a roundabout way, you could view this as another edge for Tesla. As many of you know, I'm all about optimizing my energy levels and overall health, so shout out to the sponsor of today's video, Athletic Greens, for helping me do just that. Coming from a few years in the health and wellness industry, I can confidently say this is hands down my favorite greens drink of all time, and I actually first found it in a Lex Fridman video. AG1 is quick and easy. 1 scoop in 8 ounces of water and your superfood cocktail is ready to enjoy. Every serving of AG1 has 75 vitamins, minerals, and probiotics that when taken consistently can support gut health, energy, immunity, recovery, and focus. AG1 is also independently certified by NSF. And thank you to those of you that have reached out to me to tell me that you grabbed some AG1 and that you've really been enjoying it. It's great to hear, but not a surprise. AG1 has also offered to provide a year's supply of vitamin D3, K2, and 5 travel packs free of charge with every new purchase if you use my link in the description below. So if you want quick and easy support for your health, this is an awesome option. And we will review this matrix of the top 10 risks to the EV transition from Fast Markets over on Patreon. I just want to highlight the 2 most critical that are somewhat in this top right quadrant, numbers 2 and 8. Number 2, supply deficits hold back EV growth. And remember, they mentioned graphite, keep that in mind. And number 8, what we just got done talking about, rapid growth of indexing complicates the path to $100 per kilowatt hour. Once again, Tesla will be insulated the most from all of these issues, and anywhere that problems arise, Tesla will have a chance to solve them first and in the best way. But for everybody else, these will be huge challenges. And I said remember graphite, here's why. This is a chart from Benchmark Mineral Intelligence showing the forecasted expected imbalances in the graphite market up to 2040. They are projecting huge supply deficits, and when you come over to the right side, this is the expected future supply, as you can see, effectively leveling off after 2025 because these are all of the known graphite projects. Now, yes, more will come online in the coming years as there is a ton of money to be made, but right now, as of today, these are the only projects that we know, and the demand far outpaces those. So very exciting trends to watch and new opportunities for Tesla to capitalize on, much more to come. From RBB24, it looks like Tesla is set for a pretty large expansion at Giga Berlin, looking to purchase an additional 100 hectares or around 375 football fields worth of land. As we know, Tesla already has a significant plot of land that is sitting open, so now that Tesla is buying additional land, that would instill confidence that Tesla will indeed build more factories on that current existing plot of land that they already own. There's been some skepticism that Tesla's been hesitant to expand in Berlin because of all of the red tape, and that's why they're expanding quickly in Shanghai. However, I think we can put most of those fears to bed as this is a positive signal. Reportedly, it's going to be for a freight station and storage, and construction could begin as early as next year. If the state authorities charge the same price per square meter as for the first 300 hectares Tesla purchased, Tesla would have to pay around 13 million euros for the additional area, or around $13.7 million. And strap on your seatbelts again, because all authorities involved must agree to the change, and this area is in a water protection area, so this is plenty of ammunition for NABU and the Green League to try to slow down Tesla. And it should be at least June 2023 before Tesla can start construction. Hobbs on the Tesla Motors Club forum drew up this map. So this is the current land that Tesla owns at Giga Berlin. Here's the current factory, and this is the new adjacent land it's looking to purchase. And real quick, sticking with Giga Berlin, you may have seen this yesterday. The Green League already had new ammo as there was a paint spill at the Giga Berlin paint shop, and some of it leaked outside onto the road. Many were worried that it was going to get into the groundwater, but the short and updated story is that the Brandenburg Environment Minister, Alex Vogel, ruled out a serious environmental hazard, saying only small quantities entered the street intake channel, which could be completely eliminated. And in the initial complaint, only 2 to 3 liters ran onto the access road and were bound. Look, I understand protecting the environment and being cautious, but if this Green League is really that serious serious about the environment, in my opinion, there are much bigger fish to fry than a 2 to 3 liter paint spill at Tesla. And yes, detractors will say, but Dylan, it was 15 liters of a paint mixture that leaked out, but that was in the paint shop. It was only 2 to 3 liters that got outside, and potentially people worried about getting into the water and the ground. And for the spill, Tesla immediately informed the authorities in charge, and the fluids were pumped out by a recycling company. And most importantly, yes, Tesla is still allowed to produce cars at Giga Berlin. They're still waiting on 2 conditional approvals. It's just some of the things that they're checking can only be checked when they're up and running. And the first revision, a kind of acceptance test, will begin on May 9th. But for now, right now, Tesla is allowed to produce cars. The guys over at Clawhammer Supply did a fun video making their own Giga beer and Giga bottles, so I will link the whole thing below, but have a look.
Today, in this video, we're going to show you how to brew the Tesla Cybertruck Giga Beer. We think.
Before anybody's ever brewed it.
Before it's even been brewed.
Get in on the ground floor.
You know, you typically ferment lagers like 50-some degrees. We did it at room temp.
In case you missed it, it looks like Elon might want to take Twitter public again in the future, perhaps in a few years, maybe around 3. If factoring in Elon time, maybe 5 or 6. And more importantly for Tesla stock, it looks like, according to CNBC, Elon has about $7 billion in funding from outside investors lined up, which will reduce the amount that he ultimately has to contribute, lowering his margin loan and reducing the overhang on Tesla stock. And the New York Post is adding he has more than $10 billion of committed equity. Here we have Pete Buttigieg, the transportation secretary, saying that congressional action is needed to expand autonomous vehicle deployment. We tend to regulate or assure the safety of the design of the vehicle, and the DMVs are concerned with the driver. That framework makes sense until you have a scenario where the vehicle is the driver. I don't know how we can address some of those issues without the involvement of Congress. However, the main takeaway here is this. He said, we have more exemptions that have been requested, and we're working promptly to address those because we do want to see research, development, and testing continue. It's always fun to hear this. The Model Y and the Model 3, the world's top-selling EVs in March and Q1 of this year. In March, global plug-in car registrations were up 60% compared to March 2021. BEVs accounted for 75% of plug-in registrations in March. And looking at the global Q1 data, the Y and the 3 in first and second comfortably, followed by Wuling's Mini EV in third place. This morning, we got some new comments from Bill Gates in a recent interview, and of course, he talked about Elon Musk. Honestly, what do you guys think about Bill Gates? Please let me know below. I'd be very curious. Talking about Elon, Bill said, there's no need for him to be nice to me. And asked specifically about whether he had bet against Tesla, Gates said, that has nothing to do with climate change. I have ways of diversifying. And he said the popularity of electric cars will lead to more competition for selling those cars. So there's a difference between electric cars being adopted and companies becoming infinitely valuable. Now, we know that Elon and Bill Gates don't get along. This is not a secret. However, Tesla becoming infinitely valuable has far more to do with just EV adoption. I mean, at this point, this is a big part of the story, but looking into the future, it's going to become a smaller and smaller part of the story with everything that Tesla has going on. And I'll pose the question to you. Do you guys agree with this statement from Gates? I don't think whether one's short or long Tesla is a statement about your seriousness about climate change. What do you think? We have a Tesla owner in Illinois suing because of the false forward collision warnings. Now, from everything I see online, this is definitely a problem. Is suing the answer? I don't know. We'll see how all of this shakes out. But with this new beta technology, there's going to be issues. And in this case, because the user's safety score has been negatively impacted, thus increasing his insurance rates due to factors beyond his control, essentially that are not his fault, he's decided to sue Tesla. I just want to explain what Elon means in this tweet. He said, passive index investment is simply an amplifier of active investment. Basically, active investors, people investing in individual stocks, that effectively changes the weighting of those individual companies relative to the indices. And as we know, the passive or the index funds just track the indices. So he's saying the capital from these active investors will ultimately change the makeup of these index or passive investment strategies. Herbert D said in this clip that VW's first entry-level EVs won't come until 2025, so taking the Tesla approach, starting with some higher margin, higher price vehicles and working their way down the price ladder, really one of the only plays at this time given the raw materials cost situation. Here we have a quick reveal teaser of the new EV DeLorean, set to be officially unveiled in prototype form on August 18th. However, the official name is yet to be revealed. Don't forget to check check out AG1 linked below. Please like the video if you did. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.